Hi Year 12, this is our next lesson on Quoi. This is the structure that our lesson is going to take. We're going to begin as always with our daily review. I'll introduce the big question for today's lesson, and then we're going to go through our close analysis of the poem, eventually linking the poem with the awakening, and we'll finish by setting preparation tasks for our next lesson. So here is our daily review. If you could pause the video here and work your way through those 4 questions. Okay, the first was to recall 2 facts about Mew's life. Now, we introduced quite a few facts last lesson, so there's a lot of different things that you could have noted down. Most notably though, Mew feared the onset of insanity and passing on insanity, and therefore she made a pact with her sister Anne to never marry. You may have also noted that she dressed in quite a masculine way and kept her hair short, or that she eventually committed suicide. Question 2 then, write down one thing about the structure or form of the poem. For me, the most interesting thing I think Mew does is that she creates a pace, a rhythm and a steady rhyme scheme that reflects the speaker's sense of peace and harmony with the current situation that she's experiencing. 3, recall a quotation that demonstrates that Edna's love for Robert is natural. I would go for because his hair is brown to explain why she loves him, or any of the natural imagery that Chopin uses when they're together. And then recall a quotation. I've just realised I have a typo there, sorry, it meant to say Leonce. Recall a quotation that proves that Edna's marriage to Leonce was for reasons other than love. Hopefully you recognise that that was a mistake there. So there's her marriage to Leonce Pontellier was purely an accident. It shows that it was something done just to please society and to annoy her dad. Okay, so today's big question is going to be, how can I draw comparisons between this poem and The Awakening? By the end of this lesson, I want you to all be able to confidently answer that question. So if you get to the end and you still feel a bit stuck, please do email me. I can clarify and go over things to help you to understand, to be able to answer that question. So we're going to go through stanza by stanza. What I plan to do is talk you through the sorts of things I would annotate. Hopefully you've got your own annotations as well. I'd like you just to add anything that I say onto your poems. It doesn't necessarily mean if I don't mention something that you have that is incorrect or anything like that. It might just be that in my quick overview of the poem, I haven't drawn upon the thing that you have. If you want to check anything that you thought as you read the poem on your own, absolutely fine, please email me and I'll have a look at your annotations as well. So I'm going to talk you through what I would do with each stanza, and then I'll have a slide after that will show you what sort of annotations you want to make. So if this is too quick, don't worry about pausing. All of the things I say will be summarised on the next slide. So 17 years ago you said something that sounded like goodbye, and everybody thinks that you are dead, but I. That's stanza 1, and the first thing that stands out to me from stanza 1 is the opening there, 17 years. So from this then we learn that this isn't a recent bereavement that she's experienced. It happened 17 years ago and they've been apart for 17 years. So on the one hand, this could account for the speaker's sense of peace. She's made peace with what's happened, she's had 17 years of grieving, and she feels at a point where she feels at peace with what happened. However, for me, I think it really emphasises the enduring nature of their love, that even after 17 years of separation, the speaker still feels strongly connected to the lover. The second thing that I would draw on from this stanza is the fact that she said something that sounded like goodbye. For me, that reflects the speaker's surety that they're going to be reunited once the speaker dies. So that it's not really goodbye, which links to that title as well, because I think À quoi bon dire, which translates to what good is it to say, I think my reading of this is that the poet means, what good is it to say goodbye? What's the point of saying goodbye when it's not really goodbye? They'll be reunited. And then thirdly, I would pick up on the contrast that she creates between everybody and I, because it shows that connection of the two lovers being different from everyone else. Everyone else thinks that the person is dead, but I. So she has that unique connection with the lover, and that's shown through the conjunction but as well, how her opinion differs to the others. So as I said then, I have typed up everything I've just talked you through, so if you want to pause the video here and add your annotations onto the poem, that's absolutely fine. But just to read through quickly and reiterate, 17 years ago, the poet establishes that the lovers have been parted for a significant amount of time. This could account for the speaker's feelings of peace and harmony, but could also demonstrate that their love endures death. So even though so much time has passed, the speaker remains committed to the lover. Like goodbye is interesting because it suggests that the speaker actually doesn't believe that they're truly parted. There's no use in saying goodbye because they'll be reunited. And then the contrast in everybody and I to show the unique understanding between the lovers. Stanza 2. So I, as I grow stiff and cold, to this and that say goodbye too, and everybody sees that I am old, but you. Notable things that I would pick out from this stanza. We learn, as we looked at last lesson, that the speaker herself is growing older and approaching death. I say herself, we don't know if the speaker is a man or a woman. It's purposely left ambiguous. Stiff and cold is a euphemism for approaching death. But again, she still seems quite harmonious. She feels a state of calm about the fact that she is approaching death. And again, that's because of her surety, or his surety, that the lovers will be reunited. This bit I find interesting. To this and that say goodbye to. This and that. Interesting words, because it shows that she doesn't hold any significance, or she doesn't feel that the material things she has around her are important, or even the people around her currently are important. That doesn't feel like a sad thing for her to say goodbye to those things, because the most important thing is her lover, and they're going to be reunited. And everybody sees that I am old, but you. Again, you've got the contrast, the repetition of that form as well. Everybody and you, with those two words there, which are repeated. This bit I like because it shows how over time that love doesn't fade. So while everyone else can see that the person is growing old, in the lover's eyes they're still new, beautiful, wonderful, and it again shows their unique understanding and connection with each other. Okay, so here are my annotations typed up. The only slightly different thing I have, I won't go through them again, and the only slightly different thing that I do want to draw your attention to is I have made a comparison to The Awakening, because I think it's interesting when Mew talks about how the lover that's still alive says goodbye to this and that, showing the lack of importance of the material or anything that she will leave behind. It makes me think of how Edna places little importance on her wealth, her place in society, how people look at her. The only thing that is important to Edna is Robert, and she, like the speaker in this poem, is willing to sacrifice all of that in order to be with him. So I just wanted to draw your attention to that slight difference, and it's another good thing to annotate onto your poem. So you might want to pause and add these annotations on. Our final stanza then. And one fine morning in a sunny lane, some boy and girl will meet and kiss and swear that nobody can love their way again. while over there you will have smiled, I shall have tossed your hair. This part is quite interesting because of the change in tense. She's talking about the future tense now. She mentions a boy and girl. Lots of critics have found this interesting because it seems to allude towards the fact that perhaps Mew was talking about a relationship between a male and female, when we know that Mew was attracted to females. But she doesn't actually clarify that at any point in the poem, so it's just one interpretation. Also, the use of the nouns boy and girl as opposed to man and woman are interesting, because it shows how it's new love, how they're young. And then they meet and kiss and swear that nobody can love their way again. So Mew seems to suggest that each lover thinks that their love is unique. Each lover thinks that their love is stronger than any other couple. And ironically, that's what links them, that they all think that their love is stronger. This last line then is quite interesting, and many people have read it as being almost ghostly, like their spirits have returned. But I think it shows the cycle of love, that these lovers have died and they've been reunited in the afterlife, and then new lovers are formed. Okay, and here is my here are my typed up annotations on that stanza if you'd like to pause again. And finally, I had some really good responses about connections between the poem and the awakening. And here are a few ideas. So their love transcends death. That's the lovers in the poem. And that for me connects a little bit with the awakening, because Edna ends her life when she realises that her love for Robert cannot be realised in her lifetime. So lots of people read the point where Edna walks into the ocean as being a symbol of rebirth and possibility for the realisation of their love after death. So she can't be with him in her lifetime, and that's why she chose to end her life. Chopin also presents a unique bond and understanding between Edna and Robert, as shown through the parts where Chopin describes how they don't even have to talk in order to feel connected to one another, and how time can pass without words said between them and just feel normal and natural. So Edna and Robert are presented as having that unique bond that Mew also presents between the two lovers in this poem. There's also the idea of enduring love that connects the two poems. So Edna's love for Robert endures many hardships. They're apart for a long time. Edna sacrifices an awful lot to be, or in hope of being with Robert. Just like the lovers in the poem, their love endures death and 17 years of being physically apart. Hopefully now you feel confident in answering this question, so you might want to pause here and make sure that you can jot down some answers to this question. If not, like I said, please do feel free to email me or get in contact via Show My Homework so that I can help you. And finally, our preparation tasks. Next lesson, we're going to start to look at an approach to answering the following exam question. How do the writers of the text that you have studied, sorry, there's a misplaced apostrophe there. How do the writers of the text that you have studied present ideas about enduring love? To prepare for this, I want you to email me your responses to the following questions. What is Chopin's big idea about enduring love? What does she try and show us about enduring love? If you're confused on what enduring love means, it might be a good idea to just have a quick recap by looking at the timer videos where we clarify the definition there. And which sections of the text do you think will be particularly useful to examine in response to this question? So I'd like to hear from you through email with your responses to those questions before the next lesson. Okay, thank you.